We are live, and there is no intro. Everybody, how you doing? Welcome. Sunday edition of Heavy Metallurgy, album review section. And yeah, this is a new little thing we're going to start doing. We don't always catch all the new hot and happening big releases, and we're pretty sporadic with our reviews. So we thought maybe we'd do a good catch-up stream regarding 4 newish albums that came out in the first quarter.
Oops, that came on.
What did?
Oh, sorry. I've got something, a commercial startup playing in the background, but
oh, right on.
It's muted now.
So yes, we are joined again by Logan, of course, member of the Metallurgy crew, of course, and also Metal and Beer Snob on YouTube.
Yep.
And
making the rounds. Good to be here on a Sunday too.
Rounds. You've got more rounds to make tonight, don't you?
Yeah, he does.
Yes. This is the first of 2 streams. I am well booked apparently this weekend.
And last night too. What the hell?
Yeah.
Your wife is gonna start taking notes, I'm afraid. Checking her list.
It feels nice to be wanted though at the same time. So
100%.
I gotta just balance it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, y'all can check Logan out later tonight over on the Shredbeard show, which is always a lot of fun.
Absolutely. But yes, tonight we are not going to be going into each one of these albums like album club level of dissection. We're going to be just kind of doing an overview of our first, second, third impressions and just kind of chatting about these records a bit before we reach the end of this discussion. So
yeah, there were several the impetus for this, as Marty was saying, there were several pretty high profile heavy metal releases right at the start of the year, which is a little unusual. Usually you see the bigger bands put their stuff out a little bit later. But yeah, January into early February, you had some big hitters like Kreator, Mayhem, other ones. And we didn't really ever discuss most of these in detail. We did cover the Megadeth one with S. Craig Zoller, but the others we didn't get a chance to review. So we're kind of circling back and touching on some of these, more hyped up, more widely publicized albums from the very beginning of 2026.
Yeah. So without further ado, Logan is on a time crunch, so we're going to just kind of get into this, but we're going to start off with the album that dropped first in this quartet of releases, and that would be Kreator's Krushers of the World, which came out on January 16th, 2026 via Nuclear Blast Records. Logan, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on this album?
Oh man. So this one, so I guess first some context. I did skip over Hate Uber Alice. Did not really bother checking that one out. I do enjoy modern Kreator though, as an idea and as a band. I mean, the first Kreator album that I really got into was Phantom Antichrist. That was huge back in 2011. And I mean, I think it's still a ripper of an album and one that I do spin from time to time.
Agreed. Yep.
The follow-up too. Don't re-sleeve on camera, Logan, here. Gods of Violence. I honestly also think this is a great album, and I might like this one better than Phantom Antichrist. Like the Swedish... My cat just knocked over everything.
There you go.
Bad kitty.
Yeah. Later, Louis, the Swedish like melodic death metal kind of sound is definitely seeping in here, but I like the songs are great and it's still a ripping thrash album. So enter Krushers of the World, which by the way, whenever we're swapping letters, I'm not necessarily a fan of that. Swapping C's for K's. Come on, that's a warning sign of something right there.
Aesthetic infraction already.
Yeah, right off the gate. The album cover is also a bit weird looking, a bit interesting. Still cool, but getting into it, it's definitely a different kind of sound. It's like a bit more arena metal. Let me rephrase that. Arena metal oriented. The shift in focus of songs is now a lot more towards the chorus, it seems like.
Yep.
And it seems like they're catering towards the European festival crowd with a lot of these songs,
Yep.
and that was kind of a tough pill to swallow. Like typically I would associate some of the tracks and the songwriting with a band like what Arch Enemy is doing, not with Kreator. And the core of this album didn't really feel like a thrash album to me. Like, to go back to the previous Kreator albums I talked about, like Phantom Antichrist and Gods of Violence, still feel like a thrash album at their core. They still move viciously from track to track, and even though there's a bit more like melodic Swedish death metal isms in there, it's still recognizable thrash. This does not really have that feeling, and it kind of left me a bit lacking. Like I was just not really connecting with most of the album. Like there are certainly good songs on here, don't get me wrong. I actually think the album opens up pretty strongly with Seven Serpents. I think that's a great opener.
Yeah.
The main riff is highly infectious, kind of gets the blood pumping, does a good job of opening the album. And then, if I'm gonna butcher this, Transnapalast. I don't know, the one that sounds like Suspiria. Suspiria song, I really like as well. I like the guest vocals. I like the nod, of course, to Suspiria and the Fabio Frizzi melodies and stuff. And I think it's a success. To me, that made sense for it being a single. And I enjoyed both of those songs upon multiple re-listens. Death Scream was also, I thought, an effective track for kind of closing the album, and I actually didn't mind Loyal to the Grave. Like it is a bit anthemic and definitely catered towards a stadium kind of crowd, but at the same time I think it's infectious and it does get it is memorable, and I think the songwriting is good, and it's not too basic. What is too basic is Satanic Anarchy, Krushers of the World, and a couple other tracks in the second half, which just feel very by the numbers, and we, not really trying. I hate to say it. I don't want to come across too harsh, but it was just kind of tough to swallow. And then the rest of the tracks that I'm not really mentioning are a little more on the forgettable side. So I ended up having a tough time finding the motivation to listen to this more than 3 times is what I got for this stream. Thankfully, that's all we really need to do for tonight is get a couple listens. It's not like an album club, as you guys mentioned. So I appreciated that. So I got my 3 or 4 listens in, and I do not know if I will be returning to this album. Like, it's not bad, but I don't necessarily think it's a pertinent Kreator album for you to check out.
All right, Alan.
All right. I'm not only on the same page as Logan, we're on like the exact same semicolon. I couldn't have put it better myself.
Yeah.
I don't mind recent Kreator. I know the band has kind of drifted away from a sound that some people like. That some folks have kind of lost interest in them. Fair enough. I don't mind the more recent Kreator albums. I didn't even mind Hate Uber Allies that much. I enjoyed that one more than most folks seem to have. But yeah, on this album, as Logan said, every song feels like it was very much written for the live environment. It's like, let's get everybody with their fist in the air chanting along. Okay, here's another song to raise your fist and chant along. Next up, we want you to raise your fist and chant along. Every album is going to have a couple of those, and that's fine. But when every track starts to become that way, they become very interchangeable. The album becomes very tedious. And at the end of it, nothing's particularly rememberable because they're all doing the same thing, track after track after track. So the album sounds fine. And again, I'm glad the band is still around and putting a good amount of energy into the performances. But the songs are just, it feels too candy-coated, too one-dimensional. And like Logan, I've played it a couple of times. I don't really feel the need to go back to it. This is one of those albums where I was like, if I play it a few times and like it, I will order a copy. I have not ordered a copy, and I do not intend to order a copy anytime soon. This will be one of those things that Yeah, maybe if it goes on sale for $9.99 and I need something to add to my cart to get free shipping, maybe it ends up on the shelf that way. But yeah, it's just doesn't quite click for me. Same issues and complaints that Logan had with it. And again, I can tolerate all the albums leading up to it. This for me is the first one that feels like it is gone a little too far in that melodic death metal sing along direction. So yeah, I hate to say it, but it's not the Kreator album for me. Maybe it grows on me with time, but the structure of the album is going to make that hard to do because the songs are just too similar and too singularly focused on doing one thing. This! Marty, what's your take on this? You're the long-term Kreator fan here, so what do you think of this one?
Yeah,
crushing you?
Yeah, we're all in full agreement here, and this is Stadium Kreator, and that's fine because honestly, I see a band getting a whole brand new lease on life. They've reinvigorated their sound with a Swedish melodic death metal vibe, which is cool. Songs are meant to get the European festivals engaged and chanting along, and exactly 100% agree with you guys completely. The thing that bugs me is, I have Hate Uber Alice. I've got a good lineup of their albums leading up to this, and the truth of the matter is I'm not reaching for them. I bought Hate Uber Alice. I listened to it for probably 3 or 4 days. I'm like, this is pretty good. It's good. And I kind of feel the same way about Krushers of the World. It's more or less pretty good. There's some songs here and there that are a little weak. There's a good 2 or 3 track run in the middle of the album where they pick up the intensity again. I don't know if I forgot my notes. I think they're Blood of Our Blood, Combatants, and maybe Psychotic Imperator. I don't know, but there's a good run in the middle that picks it up again, and Seven Serpents is a good lead-off track. It's just, I think they're doing just enough to keep their old fans interested, because it does still, Milla has a very distinctive voice.
Oh, yeah.
But I think this is more calibrated to reach a new audience, which more power to them, and it's obviously working. The longevity is well documented and quite impressive. And of the big 4, they're probably the biggest and the most widely saluted. So yeah, but for me, I think I'm done buying Kreator records. I have no interest. We got a promo of this. Probably should have reviewed it when, it was getting ready to come out. And honestly, I'd try 3 or 4 times. It's kind of like the New Testament. Neither of those bands really, if someone was playing it in the background.
Oh.
Ooh, did we lose Marty?
Point made.
Let's see. Maybe he just dropped signal for a minute. It looks like, yeah, everything else on the stream is still working. Logan, everything's still good on your end, right?
Yep. I watching it live over here, and we're good. Marty is indeed frozen in action. So
he is lost somewhere in time.
Yeah.
There we go.
He is.
My internet just completely shit out, came back on, thankfully.
That's all right.
But I was done making my point. Hopefully it all came through.
Yeah, it sounded like you had kind of reached your conclusion. And just a dramatic pause, more of a dramatic pause than usual.
Yeah. Which brings us to our next discussion. Is there anything we need?
Doesn't sound like it. Sounds like we're all pretty much on the same page with Kreator. That we're glad Kreator is still around making albums, but it doesn't feel like this is the album for any of us.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think they deserve to rest on their laurels a bit if that's what they want to do. Yeah. They have the career that they should be able to do that, and I only want success for them. So I hope that they do well with this upcoming festival circuit that I'm sure they're going to be on.
All right. Well, that brings us to our next album of discussion today, and that would be Mayhem's Liturgy of Death. Came out February 6, 2026 via Century Media Records. Alan, we're going to start with you on your first thoughts on this.
Okay. Let's see. This was the This is the only one of the ones we're talking about tonight that I did go out and buy a physical copy of when it dropped. Local store happened to get it, and I was okay picking it up. This one, the initial playthroughs are that it's similar to the previous album Damon in some ways, that you feel the band is now writing. Some people are referring to it as like going back to their roots, or kind of going back to the mysterious De Satanis sound. I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think they are very much, though, going back to a more basic song structure. And Necro Butcher has said as much in interviews, that over the course of the past two albums, they are writing with the live environment more in mind. And when you think about it, that fits perfectly, because the stuff they had done on previous albums had to be kind of difficult to pull off on stage. But the stuff they've done on Damon and on Liturgy of Death, much more straightforward and easier to pull off as a band on stage. So that comment really hit home and makes sense of these past two albums. With Liturgy of Death, there are differences from Damon. It feels like on this album, the production's a lot louder. There's fewer dynamics, and the emphasis seems to be on the more aggressive parts. Pretty much every song has some slow sections and some fast sections. On Damon, it was the quieter passages that you tended to notice, whereas on Liturgy of Death, I feel like it's the more aggressive stuff you tend to notice. It's still good performances by everyone, of course. I feel like Attila is a little buried in the mix at times. I wish he was a little bit louder, as with a lot of modern production. The drums are very upfront, and sometimes at the cost of other performances, and Attila could be a little louder in these songs. Production also feels like it's probably a little bit brick-walled. So again, I miss the fact that they're not using the dynamics as well as they could have. Song by song, the tracks are pretty good. But when I get to the end of the album, I realize that nothing in particular is very memorable. There's not a ton of really big moments that stick with me, or riffs that you latch onto very easily. And you can say the same things about Damon, really. And I think that's why at the end of the day, I feel a little disappointed by the album. Not because the songs are bad in any way, but there's just nothing that's standing out about it. Mayhem's a band that across their first, 5 albums, they always did something different. You never knew what they were going to do. Some you might like more than others, but they were a band that was constantly innovating, changing their formula, trying different things. But on these past 2 albums, it feels like they've gone, back to a more basic song structure, and now they're staying closer to that kind of home base. They're not venturing out and exploring so much. The lineup isn't stable now. It's the same producer as the previous album. So, it feels like they're, in a place where everything's very stable and they could start to branch out and explore if they wanted to. But I think those Necro Butcher interviews with the comments about, we're trying to write songs that will work in a live environment. Mayhem is now a touring commodity, which is kind of hilarious when you think about the early days of Mayhem and how they were supposed to be, the antithesis of everything commercial or accessible or trendy in the underground. And now it is Mayhem, incorporated copyright trademark. See you on the next tour as soon as we wrap up this tour. So it's not a bad album. I don't think I'm going to replay it a whole lot because it doesn't offer anything particularly new to the Mayhem canon. And that feels like, this band that's been kind of the vanguard and one of the leaders in the scene for decades is now just kind of stuck in place. And that always is a little disappointing to me. So that's my take. Not a bad album. Song by song, if I'm just hearing 1 or 2 songs, pretty good. But working through the entire album, it ends up feeling a little flat by the end of the time. The experience is kind of like, that's not really what I come to Mayhem for. That is my take. Marty, you going second on this one, or is Logan?
Yeah.
Over to you then.
I think I'm a little polar opposite of Alan on this one. I've only spun it 3 times, and honestly, I like this one right off the bat better than Damon. I think there's more space in the songs, and it feels like it could have been 1 or 2 albums after De Mysteriis Dom Satanas. It has that vibe. You can tell that they've been touring that old material a lot. They did the anniversary tour for playing De Mysteriis in its entirety, and that gave Telok and the other guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, more time to adapt and assimilate the Euronymous composition and instrumentation style, even though they still are, putting their own modern twist on that. Honestly, I've been pretty impressed with Liturgy. I think the album, it has that old evil, that old Norwegian evil Mayhem vibe going on, and the little bit of space and some of the riffing allows a darkness to come in. And Attila, after all these years of, vocal cord decimation, he still sounds absolutely great. I think he completely nails the vibes on here. Even the more quiet spaces, he twists and turns that performance into something really creepy. And I'm looking forward to unpacking this album a bit more. But the lead-off track, did I write it down? Whatever the lead-off track is with Garm and somebody else, I think that song is great. I'm like, wow, this feels, Fenrir. It feels like an old Mayhem song, like right in the De Mysteriis era, and it just had that feel, that dark atmosphere again. So I like Damon. I thought it was a good record, but Mayhem just kind of hit a point where they're very modern sounding, and Telok's riff writing style is very chaotic in a way. It touches at melody lines, but it perverts it more so than anything and makes it more ugly. And and I just think that this is a step in a better direction. That the band feels very cohesive. You could tell they've been playing a lot together, and I think they wrote a very good, solid album that is more true in spirit to their early era. What do you think, Logan?
I actually end up more on the Alan side of this equation when it comes to this album. It's one of those where I honestly, I wish I had more to say about it, because it ends up basically with me not having as much of a relationship as I wanted to. And I've spun it like probably 6 times or so. And it's very much one of those albums where when I'm in it and I'm listening to it, it's good. Everything's fine. I'm enjoying it. But then as soon as it stops, as soon as I'm done, I really don't have much of a recollection of any songs, moments. It kind of in one ear, out the other. Like there's not these big memorable parts or sections of songs that really hook me. So far, everything flows very much like linearly and very samey all the way across. Like all the songs feel somewhat interchangeable. They're good songs, but they're doing the same thing from one track to the other. Mm-hmm. And I'm basically with Alan in the camp where I kind of got used to, thinking of Mayhem as a band that could make Esoteric Warfare or Grand Declaration of War, albums like that really kind of challenge you and, just make you scratch your head. But you might not like it necessarily, but at the same time, you remember it and it left you with an actual, feeling from the music. And Liturgy of Death has not really left me with much of a lasting impact after so many listens. And I feel like I should be able to remember it just a bit more, and it is a little on the longer side too, at 50 minutes, and the dreary atmosphere all the way through, I think once again just makes it feel a little samey throughout. I mean, there's parts that I really like. I absolutely love Attila's vocal performance. I think the spoken word is appropriately brooding. I think his shrieks are as vicious as ever, if not, they sound even better maybe than on previous albums. And my favorite is actually his Christopher Lee, Saruman, like religious, clean singing, chanting. Where he's talking to the Urukai or whatever. It's awesome. I thought was a nice, cool touch for a lot of the songs, and those were my favorite moments, I think, on the album. I do appreciate the more attack feel of this release. Like, it does really come off aggressive. Like the inner working between the drums and the guitars especially push the album in a very aggressive slant basically throughout the whole duration of it. And it definitely, I think that helps with it flying by and at least being engaging while you're listening to it. It's just when you're not listening to it, I don't remember it. It kind of is a bit like wallpaper in a way, unfortunately, and that's kind of not what I want out of my Mayhem experience. So, is it a good album? Yes. I think if you're a Mayhem fan, you should check it out and potentially buy it, but I don't know if it's gonna leave a lasting impact like other releases. I mean, De Mysterious Dom Satanis is a favorite of mine, and I'm still really wrapping my head around some of their more experimental outings. It just feels weird that I don't need to really challenge myself to figure out what they're doing on Liturgy of Death. Your point though about being a live band is very apt. I think you both made that, and I think they were honestly just tired of touring on De Mysterious Dom Satanis, because that for the longest time it was just they could only tour and play that album basically, as you pointed out. So now here we are. They have 2 albums under their belt that they can actually get out there and tour with, and I think that was the goal. So for that, they did succeed. But yeah, this will probably not be with me at all throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's a good point, Logan. I mean, how many times folks going to pay to watch you sing Funeral Fog?
Yep.
It's a great song, but yes, they've toured that one so much that they did need new material, for sure. And yeah, this stuff does just lend itself to that live setting. And that's something, both the albums we've talked about, Kreator's doing kind of the same thing Mayhem is here. They're writing songs for their live audience more so than going into push the boundaries with anything different in the studio. Only point I want to make following up regarding Attila, he still sounds excellent. Absolutely not taking anything away. Like I said, I wish he was a little louder so I could hear him better in the mix at times. I do wonder, however, if we've now got enough recorded Attila performances where just having Attila do vocals isn't enough to get you over the top. I mean, one of the things that always made De Mysterious so, special was that for a long time, that was the only way to easily hear him. And it's a crazy good performance. But now if I want to hear Attila, I have choices. I can go back to De Mysteries. I can listen to Order of KO. I can play Damon. I can play this album. So his vocals are still very special. He still does a great job with his quirky, weird delivery. But we've heard this quirky, weird delivery several times now. I don't need this album just to hear a good Attila performance. So maybe we're at a point where it's not that he's any less good, but the uniqueness of it doesn't feel as special as it did 2 decades ago.
And for further Attila exploration, vocal exploration, some time ago, he sang on a EP by the band Keep of Kalessin called Reclaim. Mm-hmm. It's a short but crushing performance.
I did not know that.
Frost from the band Satyricon plays drums on that release too. And yeah, check that out. Attila completely crushes on that Reclaim mini CD. But okay, well, next. I have nothing more to add. You guys, I think we got that pretty well covered.
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot. So on that one.
And everybody, my internet is going on and off, so enjoy. Anyway, up next is Worms Necropalace. Came out February 13, 2026 via Century Media Records, and I'll get going on this one first, I guess. This album, I have to go back to all the hype that surrounded their album. What was it? It was Gloomlord. Gloomlord.
Oh, sorry.
I bought this sight unseen due to the internet hype, and you know what? It's a good record. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not. Um, but to me, I'm listening to it and I hear a guy really trying to emulate the disembowelment, funeral doom, death doom persona. And yes, he definitely tapped into some key elements on that record that made it reminiscent of that style, but he never really completely captured the essence. And I really think that that album was just so kind of, I was so disappointed, and I didn't hate it. It's a pretty good record. It's produced well. It's good. It just didn't really demand further listens for me. So I skipped all of the other stuff he's done, and I had to start listening to this here. And honestly, what we have here is him emulating another style completely, and that would be the Dimmu Borgir symphonic black metal presence, which he does quite well. In fact, listening to the lead-off track, let me get my notes up here. Necropalace. It the keyboard line in it, the flourish. It sounds almost note for note, the Dimmu Borgir song "Morning Palace" off of Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, and it bothers me a lot. And then the song kind of switches off into a "Where Dead Angels Lie" chord progression. It's like, the sound is really good. The guitar work is amazing. They got the guy from Cathelis on guitars. And, this guy should be a guitar YouTuber. He is like shred-tastic. He would have a bazillion hits and likes on YouTube for his any sort of tutorial videos he wants to share. But, this is a band, I could go on and on here, but ultimately this is a band that I've listened to and I can appreciate what they're doing, but I don't really know what this band is. I don't think I have heard a true essence of what Worm is, other than a chameleon band. They are a band that, they're signed to Century Media now. They've gained a groundswell of popularity, which, hats off, man, what they're doing. You listen to the record, it's very long. It's very shred-tastic. There's solos all over this thing. But it's one of those things where I feel like I've heard it before. And honestly, I pulled up Enthroned Darkness Triumphant today and started listening to it. And I'm like, you know what? This is better than what Worm's doing. Even though Worm is trying to, siphon the essence away from that early era, that special early era, the songwriting on the Worm album, it's very, there's some good moments where flow is important, but there's a lot of start-stop, sandwiching parts together that feel like they should have been in different songs or not even in the song. That, to me anyway. So compositionally, it feels a bit forced in spots. What ties it together is the guy's vocals, very grim, nasty, good vocals, and sometimes he takes it down to lower deathy doom type styles, like on the song Halls of Weeping. That's another one that there's like these cryptic melody lines in there that kind of matches the old spirit of the Peaceville 3, Paradise Lost in particular, like in the Gothic era. There's like a weird kind of bending style in those riff lines that, again, here's a band that is borrowing from another era, and and they get signed to a big label who is repackaging your basically your marketing plan is built upon the foundation of a very successful formula. So it's win-win, and obviously it is winning. And I could probably listen to this record a bunch more and like it more, and I do. Like I said, I think there's a lot of good technical proficiency. I like the sound of it, and ultimately the style he's emulating I do enjoy. But again, it's pulling from a style that, Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, I haven't listened to in decades. So if anything, I get to pull that off the shelf and revisit an album that I haven't listened to in decades and enjoy. Whereas why do I need a second-rate copy of said formula? So my thoughts on this are, cheers to the people that dig it. I think it's good. I just don't think it's very original. And I think it's pretty obvious what he's doing. Logan.
Yeah, this is definitely, as everyone kind of in the chat is saying, and you said, this is the most hyped album of the year so far. And to a certain extent, I do think it's deserved. I mean, the scope of this album and the compositions alone are very impressive to take in. Like, he's not playing it easy. They're going above and beyond with songwriting and, throwing stuff in there. Like the fact that this album is over an hour long and we've got like 15-minute long songs and guitar solos that are 6 minutes a piece, and you know, it's impressive. Like these guys are amazing musicians, and you know, are comfortable showing that. For me personally, though, is not what I'm looking for. It's not my thing. They've gone beyond where I kind of like the band. Like I was actually a big fan of Forever Glade. Of course, emulating Disembowelment is an easy win for me, and I thought they did it well enough that I did enjoy the album. And though I haven't respun it in years up until prepping for this stream, it was still something that was worthwhile back when it came out in 2021. For Necropalace, this sound of symphonic black metal, it's not my bag. I've never been into Demon Borgia or Cradle of Filth, and a lot of the symphonic stuff doesn't click with me. I even have a tough time with Emperor. Something about how over the top it is and the excessive amounts of synthesizers and keyboards it's all relatively distracting from what I feel like black metal should be, which is grim and dark and atmospheric, while not being too polished and refined, which I think symphonic black metal that's the point of it in a way. About their evolution a little bit, I think it makes sense them going from Forever Glade to Necropalace when if you went from just listening to Forever Glade then checked out this album, two different bands for sure. But there were some releases in between, like we had the EP Blue Nothing, and then they did a split with Dream Unending called Star Path. And when you check out the material that are on those two albums, it does make sense them being here, because the black metal grimness was creeping in on some of the songs on Blue Nothing, and especially one of the closing track on that Star Path split. So yep. I feel like they did somewhat organically arrive at this spot. I'm certain that it was a very calculated move at the same time. Like they weren't just, following a muse. They were like, let's play this sound. Let's use the Century Media money for an impressive gatefold, which Marty was showing earlier, which good placement of that Demu album, by the way, Marty. And just what they sacrificed, though, is the parts of their sound that I liked as they were, growing to the Necropalace. And for me, trying to digest the songwriting here and get into it, it was borderline impossible. I was lost in this Necropalace, and seemed like a palace of dementia or just confusion more so than anything for me.
A lot of lopsided songwriting. Like I said, a lot of shit slapped together that maybe should have been smoothed out a bit in the transitions.
And maybe that's what the issue is, because I would just be in one song and we would go down a hallway, and then all of a sudden I'd be lost, and then what's coming up next, and none of it's really connected together, and when these tracks are all around the 10-minute mark, I think you need to have some level of connection within the tracks to actually make the listening experience a bit more enjoyable. So I ended up not really connecting with a lot of the songs on here. I didn't actually enjoy Dragon Dreams. That track actually ended up kind of developing as a song, and around the halfway mark, it kind of builds with some clean guitar and an acoustic guitar section, and then a solid riff comes in, and then we get clean singing and stuff, and it's a good climax for the song. So I did enjoy that track, and I'm a big fan of the solos at the same time. They're well done. I love Phil Tugas, which is the guy from Cathedalist and Atramentus and Zacritus and so many other bands. He's in Exul, which released a album this year too, Sealed Into Nothing on I forget the record label now, but check it out, because I think it is a little better than this Worm album. But being able to see him just solo for minutes at a time is a treat. And I will admit, I fangirled a little bit with the Marty Friedman cameo at the end of Witch Moon. I thought that was really cool, and I mean, I'll say well done. Like, I mean, like the last section of that song is 6 minutes of just, you know, all excess guitar and just everything. But I think it's cool. I think it fits. But either way, there's too much excess here for me to actually be able to bite into this album and digest it. Do they deserve the hype? I am happy that they are achieving some form of success, though.
All right, Alan.
All right, Logan, really good point about the band kind of transitioning into this style, because it caught me off guard. I hadn't paid a lot of attention to the EP and the split. So hearing the first singles off of this, I'm like, okay. I'm not surprised they changed styles, but that's a big change. But yes, if you go back and listen, especially to the Star Path split, you can hear like, oh, no, they that EP does feel like maybe it was a test run to see how that style would work for them. And apparently the tests were positive because they fully embrace it on here. I agree with the points y'all are making. I mean, it's symphonic black metal. It's very much meant to channel the essence of late 90s stuff like Dimmu Borgir. Folks have said it in the chat. Someone said it really well. I thought that, you know, it's a very competent emulation, I think was the phrase they used. I'm like, yep, it's a very competent emulation of something that was done 30 years ago.
Yep.
Other specific things about it. Yes, the solos are, you know, really dazzling, but when you put them in these long songs, it's just like the songs don't feel like they have much direction. It's like, we're just going to play for 10 minutes because, you know, we want to have, you know, here's a 3-minute solo. Then we'll go back to, you know, kind of the standard song structure. Hey, let's do another extended solo. It's like, the solos individually are cool, but why is this song just continuing to go? Where are you trying to take us? Where are you trying to lead us? What's the point other than just overindulgent flashiness for the sake of overindulgent flashiness? And that's the kind of thing that wears a person out really quickly as a listener. At least it does me. It's cool the first time you hear it, but then they do it again. And then they do it again. And eventually it's just like, you know what? I'm tapping out. You solo as much as you want to. You can make every song 12 minutes and they'll just go on and on and on. I'm out. I don't need or want that. Like y'all, symphonic black metal is something I don't mind as a style, but I tend to take it in very small doses. It's not a style where I'm going to binge on it for months at a time. If I'm going to listen to something from Dimmu Borgir, I want to take it off the shelf. I want to play it one time, and then it's going to go back on the shelf. I've had my fix. That's all I need. It's not a style I really need to obsess over. I don't mind it from here and there.
It's really a style that really had its most impact many years ago, and now these bands touching on it, it really does feel like revisionist history. It doesn't feel like they're moving the ball forward in it. They're just like, oh, remember this really cool sound? Well, here it is again. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, Marty. We're on that 30-year retro cycle.
Yep.
You know, if you look in, you know, pop culture and psychology studies, every 30 years, whatever was popular 30 years ago starts to become popular again. You know, I mean, it's why we've seen nu metal start to kind of raise its head back up a little bit. It's close to that 30-year mark for those bands coming back around. 30 years ago, Korn was a big thing. Gee, who's been popular, you know, in the past year or so? Once again, Korn. Old school death metal followed the same pattern. You know, it got really popular. You know, it started a little earlier than that, but by 2020, it was exploding. 30 years after 1990, it's not just a metal thing either. You see it across pop culture. Something else I want to point out about this one that does bug me a bit. The album's had a lot of hype. Obviously, Century Media's pushed it really hard. That's fine. They're a record label. They should be pushing the artists that they think are going to do well. But the reaction to the album from the fan perspective has surprised me a little bit. And granted, this is, from a biased perspective, I can only see what people are posting and saying about it. I am surprised how many people are gushing about this album, because When other bands release albums in this style, I don't see people gushing about them. And I guess to kind of make this point, I do wonder that if you took this same music, but slapped a Dimmu Borgir label across the top instead of the Worm logo, there would be some percentage of people that would not be saying, oh, this is cool and sick and retro and takes me back. I think you'd have a lot of people saying, oh God, it's another dummy booger record. I don't need more of that. These guys are lame. My guitar solos don't belong in black metal. There's some contingent of people out there that would have that reaction. But it's got a Worm logo on it, and this is a band that has built up a good following over the past several years with some pretty cool releases. I've got several Worm albums. I enjoy them. Like Logan, I don't play them often, but they're cool. And so, like, all of a sudden, like, he's wearing sunglasses and corpse paint and doing the whole vampire thing, and everybody's on board. How do you think folks would react to a new Dimmu Borgir video comes out tomorrow for a new Dimmu Borgir single, and they're all singing about vampires and wearing mirror shades with their corpse paint? The comments would be full of hate and vitriol and very derisive comments. I would bet money on it. But Worm does it, and the comments are just full of people tripping over themselves to put this on while they listen or read their next Anne Rice novel. I don't quite get why folks feel like Worm does it, it's cool, but God forbid Cradle of Filth or Dimmu Borgir or some other band do it, because then we'd all complain about it. My last final little point here, and this is a very silly thing, but I do not like the new band logo. Marty, do you have it on one of the slides to pull up?
I can take it back to the album cover here.
If you've got it, yeah. I do not like this band logo at the top. For one, it really rips off the old Tiamat logo from Sumerian Cry era. And the second thing, this is very stupid, but it bugs me. It's got bat wings on it. Your band is named after a burrowing invertebrate. It does the opposite of flying. It digs below the ground. It doesn't fly above the ground, yet you've got a logo that highlights like bat wings sticking out of it. You're a worm, not a bird, not a bat, not a dragon, a worm. You should have like a squiggly logo, like subterranean. Worms don't fly. Neither does that logo, and neither does this album for me personally. I'm glad people are enjoying it. I hate to sort of rag on it, but yeah, it's not doing anything new. Like you said, Marty, it's not pushing anything forward. It's doing stuff that was done 30 years ago, just adding modern production, some flashy guitar solos, and a pair of mirror shades, and it's cool. If folks love it, that's great. It is not for me. I have no interest in revisiting this album anytime soon.
I think, touching on your point there, the reason why I think it's so impressive to people is, again, it's kind of like the Kreator thing. They've kind of changed their style a bit to appeal to a younger audience. I think Worm is tapping into a younger fan base of extreme metal that weren't around during the first symphonic black metal explosion. So this might feel in a lot of ways new and exciting to them. So,
and that's a great point,
in that case, I could understand the little more forgiving points on the overall aesthetic of this band.
Yeah, that's a great point, Marty. If this is someone's introduction to symphonic black metal, not everybody was around 30 years ago and buying Dimmu Borgir, Enthroned Darkness, Triumphant, and Stormblast. If this is someone's introduction to the style and they think, hey, that's cool, that's neat, I like that, awesome. I'm glad you found the album. I'm glad you like the style. That is great. If you're a long-term fan of this style and you're just glad to see a newer band pick the ball up and run with it a bit, that's great. But if you're somebody who complains about every Dimmu Borgir album from the past 25 years, but now you're tripping over yourself to buy Worm gear, see what I did there, Marty? Yeah, I got to ask, why are you cool with the Worm release, but you crap all over other symphonic black metal releases? And again, there could become two completely separate segments of fans doing those things.
Yeah.
But that's the disconnect I kind of have with Worm right now.
All right. We all good? We all good on Worm? Go ahead, Logan.
Interesting test for something coming up later this year. Stormkeep just announced a new album. I don't know if they announced the date that it's coming out, but I think they released the first single. Haven't heard it yet. Supposedly, it is in a similar vein. Dimmu Borgir, symphonic, like they're fully embracing it. I mean, it was on their previous album, something from Other Time or whatever.
Tales
but,
of Other Time, yep.
Yes,
Otherworld.
Yeah. But they're amping it up, it seems like. So I'm curious what the reaction will be for this Stormkeep album. Is it going to be positive as well, or are people going to be like, they're ripping off Dimmu? This sucks. Ah. So
that's a good question.
I'm curious how it will stack up with this Worm, or people are all back on the bandwagon for symphonic black metal in 2026. So something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and maybe they are. It's a style that's been a little dormant for a while, and it has its fan base. Maybe folks are just excited for that, like they were for the Majesties album a few years ago.
Yeah,
kind of putting a little life back into melodic death metal. And if so, yeah, that's fine. It may not be for me, but if it's for other folks, that's absolutely great. But yeah, some folks mentioned the Stormkeep video in the chat just a minute ago, Logan. A couple of folks said that, they weren't too impressed with it. A lot of folks in the chat seem pretty skeptical of the Worm release as well. So it's not just the three of us that are feeling like it's not quite in our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've got one more to go, don't we, Marty?
Yes, sir. Our fourth and final album to discuss this evening is Lovebites' Outstanding Power, which came out on February 18th, 2026 via Victor. Logan.
And you're going to let me talk about it first. Oh, man.
It's circled back around you, my friend.
Man. The power metal album, the cheese album.
You're coming around nicely. We're just going to say we've been working on you so hard. It's going to be good.
And I think it's working. This was the most surprising part of this whole exercise of compiling these 4 albums. I like this album the most of all 4 that we were talking about. So, I believe me, it was a bit painful. I kept putting off listening to it, and I was going in. I definitely had some hesitation, but honestly, I was immediately impressed, and I essentially immediately enjoyed it. Oh my god! Sorry,
looks like Baby Metal's moms and a couple of their cool aunts.
I take back everything that I said. This thing is awful and so cheesy. Oh my god!
Just trying to highlight your points here effectively, okay, Logan. You were saying about Lovebites.
Thank you, Marty. I think it's a great album. The musicians on it are incredible players, and apparently incredibly coordinated as well with their attire. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I guess they're also on a boat too. They're on the Outstanding Power boat. It's impressive. I mean, the musicianship is impressive. I could not deny that this shit rips. Basically, I mean, the whole time I was trying to say, I'm not a power metal guy. I'm not in the mood for this. But you listen to what these ladies are doing on this album, and it's undeniable. I think the instrumentation is energetic and hooky, but still impressive, and and I think there's a bit more of a heavy metal feel to this album too at times. Like it doesn't just feel like a grandiose epic power metal opera. There's a bit more rough and tumble kind of spit and vinegar here. Like it's especially in the vocals, I think there's that more heavy metal approach, and I was actually able to get into it for the most part throughout its whole runtime. To kind of touch on the musicianship here, the interplay between the guitarists and the bassist is phenomenal.
Amazing.
Like they're trading off like these almost like jazz fusion or jam band like sounding licks like they're nothing, and then they go right back into the main riff just so seamlessly. It's so well done, and the melodies on this album I think are really impressive too. A lot of the songs will just get stuck in your head with the guitar lines. I'm not even talking about like the vocals and the choruses, but the guitar lines themselves are memorable and engaging. The most surprising thing for me is that I like the vocalist the most of all of the sound that Lovebites has. I like her the way that she is singing the lyrics, I guess, the placement of them in the song, the delivery, and then her range is a bit more baritone, and I think it
Yeah.
has a bit more of that heavy metal bite to it at times.
Yeah.
Like we're not dealing with someone just crooning or doing opera over the top, which that's a quick way for me to kind of tune out a power metal album.
For now.
For now.
We're working on
We're
that.
still there though. That's still an issue I have. But that did not crop up on this Lovebites album. Like her vocals are so right in the pocket with the band, and it makes the songwriting and the tracks, I think, really hit just pretty well. I think the fact that I guess they are Japanese, so the fact that it makes me think of like anime intro songs actually was a perk. Like I enjoy I've been through an anime phase once or twice, and I enjoy good anime like intro song, and just the delivery and like the infectious melodies of these tracks make me think of some of my favorites from animes like Full Metal Alchemist or Neon Genesis, Evangelion, Neon Genesis. So that ended up being a perk. So yeah, cheers to that. I will say one downside: the album is a bit long. We're over an hour.
Oh yeah.
12 or 13 songs. I don't remember off the top of my head, but at around the 40-minute mark, that's when I feel like I've hit my limit for power metal. I'm like, I've had an album's worth of power metal intensity. Let's quit while we're ahead a little bit, and then we get to the ballad, and I'm fully derailed. What is it? Eternally. It overshadows the music that came before it, and kind of ends
part
on
of power metal, man.
I don't like the ballad, man.
You gotta roll with it. Yeah.
Yep. It takes me out of it, and I don't even remember the closing track, One Will Remain, because of that. Like I'm already a little tired at that point in my power metal experience, and then the ballad just pushes it over the edge. So I'm still working on it. To quickly highlight some tracks, Dream of King is a great I think that's got the most modern like metal sound and groove to it, and I enjoy the guitar solo the most on that album. Wheels of Fire might actually be my favorite track, which is surprising because it's the most like positive and uplifting power metal kind of song. But just the melodies of the guitar and the delivery of the chorus is superb. So a bunch of other great tracks too. But yeah, this was my biggest surprise, and as I said, my favorite of the 4 albums that we are discussing tonight. So what's happening to me? Damn it, Marty. All right. Oh, are we frozen again? Am I frozen?
Oh, you're good. We may have
Okay.
lost Marty though. That's okay. We'll give him a minute to reboot. I'll take the controls here for a minute while we stare at Mannequin Marty. And we'll just switch this around.
He looks very pensive right now. Very.
He does. I don't know why. I mean, you're on board with it.
Yeah.
Seems like you'll be happy about that. I don't know. Well,
Back.
he's not here to...
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. We got you covered. All right. I have no prior experience with Lovebites. This is the first time I'm checking them out. 20 years ago, I would have been all about this album. It would have blown me away. And 20 years later, let's put it this way, Logan, I'm really glad you brought up the anime connection.
Huh.
This reminds me of something from Full Metal Alchemist. The law of equivalent exchange.
Yes.
You have to, when you do something, you have to give up something that is exactly equal. You neither add nor subtract. And I think that's what Lovebites is doing. They're releasing a good power metal album, and they are adding nothing to this genre whatsoever. A lot of folks in the chat have said they enjoy it. I'm glad they do, but I don't care for this. This is just another power metal album. It's been done a million times before. It's the same issue we had with the Worm album a minute ago. They are Lovebites is a competent clone. They're doing the same thing that Halloween, Blind Guardian, Gamma Ray, 500 different bands on SPV, Limb Music have done. It's all the same. What's different this time? They're wearing frilly dresses. Okay, so what? I feel like if you took their logo off of it, removed their band picture, and you put a Dragon Force logo on this, once again, I think you'd have a lot of comments popping up of like, oh God, why can't they take themselves seriously? Ugh, Parametal's so happy and dumb, and I hate it. But you put a different logo on it, and some women wearing fancy dresses, and everyone's tripping over themselves to hype the new Lovebites album. It's not bad, but it's been done to death. And yes, the musicianship is fantastic. However, kind of like the Attila situation earlier, we are way past the point where simply having good musicianship gets you a passing grade. If this were 1988 or 1989 and you heard this, yes, everyone's jaw would be on the floor because they're way ahead of the curve. How many bands have any of us heard in the past 5 to 10 years where we thought, wow, the musicianship here is really subpar. These folks don't feel like they've got a good handle on their instruments yet. It just doesn't happen anymore. So the fact that they play great, sure, of course they play great. Every other band on the scene these days is full of very competent, strong players. I'm not giving Lovebites points for being great musicians because everyone's a great musician. It's the old Incredibles line. When everyone's special, nobody's special. And I don't even know if all the performances here are that special. I don't care for the vocals very much. I think she's a bit monotone. She has very little range. I don't care for the voice a lot. The drumming I find adequate, competent. It's good power metal drumming, but it's not blowing me away. Yes, both the guitarists are, can play really hot leads and licks. So I can hear that on the new Worm album. I mean, it's not unusual anymore to come across really excellent guitar lead players. YouTube is full of 11-year-olds who channel Yngwie Malmsteen with their eyes closed backwards in the mirror hung upside down in the dark. It's all put together nicely, but it is just another power metal album. And I've heard so many power metal albums. This one doesn't do anything to really stand out if I'm just listening to it. I've seen some of the, the live footage on YouTube. Yes, they seem to put on very fun, energetic live shows. They have lots of little, breakout parts, even for the bassist to step up and do stuff, which is cool. But it's just another power metal album. And it's a 65-minute power metal album. You pointed that out, Logan, and that's the real deal breaker here. If this were 40 minutes of fireworks, okay, you can put it on in the background. It's ear candy. It comes and goes, no problem. 65 minutes is a chore to get through for just about anything in any genre. I don't need 65-minute long power metal albums at this stage in my life. Again, 20 years ago, I would probably have eaten it up, but I came down off that sugar rush a long time ago. So I'm glad folks are enjoying the album. It is well done. It's well played. But I could insert 10 other power metal albums that are also well done and well played, and they won't get a fraction of the hype this one's going to get, because those bands are just dudes in denim and leather. They're not wearing frilly dresses. It kind of stinks, and it's not trying to put them down whatsoever. It's just they feel like power metal has become so much about what's your gimmick, what is your visual angle to get people's attention. And there is a component of that to Lovebites, unfortunately, that the big roughly dresses are meant to make sure you pay attention and check them out. They deliver good power metal when you listen to them, but they do nothing to push this genre or style forward. So I just don't have patience very often for bands that are simply another really good generic band in a style. And that's true not just of power metal. That's true whether we're talking about power or old school death metal or doom metal or other things. So sorry to rain on some people's parade. I'm glad some folks enjoy this. Logan, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I have a feeling Marty's very disappointed with me right now too. He probably enjoys
You're cold and dead inside. That's fine.
When it comes to hearing like, the 900th power metal band do the exact same power metal things that have been done for 40 years, I really am.
Yeah.
I am a little cold and dead. I don't need it anymore. And like I said, I really have to suspect that if this was released under a name like Dragon Force or something, that people would quickly dismiss it and roll out all the same arguments that people have made about power metal for years, about it being too happy and too silly and the band is goofing off too much. But they're giving this band a pass for reasons, whereas other bands wouldn't get that pass. Just like Worm is getting a pass on wearing their sunglasses at night, when any other symphonic black metal band probably doesn't get that same kind of pass. I've said enough, Marty. Let's end on a nice positive note. I have a feeling you've got nice positive things to say about this one.
This is a band that has got, especially on our Discord server. Go check out the Discord, folks. I think I forgot to put the link in the description, but people really seem to enjoy this band, so I was very interested in checking it out. And honestly, you look at them. I'll pull up the picture one last time here. This is, a wolf in sheep's clothing type of thing. It's like they're putting you off the scent. You look at this, you're thinking, baby metal, here we go. I don't know if I'm interested, but really outstanding power. The musicianship on here really kind of floored me. And it isn't just a shock and awe thing. There's a lot of guitar slinging going on, but the riffs are very aggressive. There's at times a slight speed metal vibe here. It's like they could hang note for note with Halloween. Halloween has obvious classics, so I don't think, to Alan's point, they're really not reinventing any wheels here. But the musicianship, especially tracks like Blazing Halo, man, the composition and instrumentation on this thing is just kind of brilliant. It's really good. And then there's even a bass solo worked into the mix. It makes it kind of exciting, and it kind of shows you the caliber of musicianship happening. Other really good songs, Out of Control, very hard driving. There's almost like a street brawling vibe to this one. Reaper's Lullaby, fast and ripping, awesome guitar work. And they close the album with One Will Remain, which is just a very energetic, more up-tempo song. So, this is a very long album, but they do pace it quite well. The ballad, I do understand what Logan's saying here. By the time there's so much, headbangable type material and great musicianship, and then they kind of let the air out of the balloon with that ballad, but still, you come to expect that with power metal. There's going to be a power ballad on there somewhere. But for me, I will say the biggest sticking point for me on this record has been Asami, the vocalist. I do agree with Logan. She's got more of a baritone, kind of she doesn't really bring it up into the higher registers at all, really. The thing that really bothers me about her voice is her extreme vibrato. She's got this that she's constantly employing. And, English obviously is not the first language here. And I find, not that I need to understand everything that's being said, but power metal typically lends itself to a bit of clarity in the vocal performance, not only in the pitch, but also in the enunciation of the words. I have a really hard time. She's just kind of warbling to me over a lot of this stuff. Granted, multiple listens, getting into it, I started to concern myself less with that, and I really got to kind of like her performance on here. It works with the music, because really the music is the shining star of this band. The music from the drums, the bass work, amazing trade-off lead stuff, a lot of linked up twin lead lines. Like I said, a very German feel in that department. Asami to me is kind of the offers a level of blandness to what could be really exciting if she was a bit more of a dynamic, or a singer that had a more ease off on the vibrato at least. But that is a minor complaint. I know that would seem like it would be a big complaint, but like I said, for me, the music is a definite highlight here. And the more I got accustomed to the album, even though it is, again, a very long slog. I remember Logan's like, we're covering that one, it's so fucking long. I'm like, well, it is, but we got to try it. I did warm up to the songs a lot, and I'm very impressed. And I don't really know, to further, kind of reinforce Alan's point here. I don't know where this would sit in my collection. I mean, power metal, I get that. Meaning I don't know how often this thing would come off the shelf beyond the the cooling off period. Well, a couple of weeks you'll throwing this in the vehicle driving around, but Alan does have a good point here. Very, 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 very good point that it isn't bringing much to the table, but it is really good. It's a good place setting for sure. Very nice. The fine china on the Thanksgiving Day feast, but it's just lacking the green bean casserole as far as repeated listens. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that one. Anything more to throw in on that, Logan?
To kind of follow with, I guess, Alan's point, of course, me not being a power metal guy at all, I have not had that issue of hearing 5,000 power metal bands that all sound the same. This is just, to me, inherently unique because of my lack of listening to the genre. What could a power metal band do in 2026 to kind of make themselves stand out from the pack? Has there been a release recently that kind of is taking the genre into a new exciting direction, in your opinion?
Me, Marty, or open question?
Open question.
Thinking.
Nothing jumps off the page at me. I mean, that's one of the issues. I think there are certain genres that have kind of over the years painted themselves into a corner.
We're stagnant.
And as such have trouble. You have trouble with new bands establishing themselves, doing anything innovative. Thrash metal, I think, has that problem in a lot of cases too. But yeah, power metal, it has, too many bands do play into the cliches of power metal anymore. I'm sure there's something out there if we kind of rack our brains for a while or poke around. But I think that's probably one reason I have drifted further away from power metal in recent years, is that I'm not hearing bands that really push that envelope forward, at least very often. So
for me, I would say that the last band that really kind of straddled the line of wanting to move the ball a little bit would be Lost Horizon. There's an aggressive.
And I mean, that's 25 years ago.
25 years ago. Yeah, exactly. But then more modern to be Sacred Outcry, though that isn't reinventing any sort of wheels. You've got the same sharp implement leading the band with Daniel Hyman. And I don't think Sacred Outcry is as explosive as Lost Horizon, but still a very, very good emotional Towers of Old, whatever the hell the name of that album was. Towers of Gold. I can't remember.
Towers of Gold, I think, yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing record, but there's some low spots in it. But still, I think Alan's right. There isn't really anybody that's moving things unless it's getting sillier. You're getting more Marvel hero-looking type of
and that's what power metal has tried to do. When you can't innovate in the music, you start innovating with the presentation, and you start doing more arts and crafts and costumes and silly themes and stuff, which some folks enjoy. Personally, I don't enjoy in power metal very much, but yeah, it's exactly right, Marty. There's probably a weird parallel to late stage capitalism here that we're not going to go into. But yeah, when you can't change the music any further, when it's as refined as it's going to get, you start messing with the experience. Put on a cape, some elf ears, big foam hammer for dwarven battle rage music, and there you go. That's a good point on how the genre got stuck.
Yep. All right. So there it is, everybody. 4 new albums that we missed out on initially on Heavy Metallurgy. We're trying to right that wrong. Did you enjoy this episode? We might be doing this a little bit more often to catch up. Obviously, we're not going to be able to cover everything. So doing these more concise group conversations might be the way we catch up throughout the year. So let us know what you think. Please go subscribe to the Metal and Beer Snob as always. He's link in the description. Please go subscribe to Let's Talk Metal, link in the description. You guys have anything to add before we bail out of here and let Logan get into makeup and ready for the Sunday metal
Mayhem.
Mandatory
Metal Mayhem.
I got my M's twisted on that one. I couldn't remember it. Yeah. Anything?
No, man. Happy to try this out. I think it worked good. I think it went well. I'm looking forward to potentially doing it in the future.
Hope folks have enjoyed it. Again, they're not deep dives. If we all play these albums 10 times each, we might start to have different impressions, but this is just meant to be sort of an overview after a handful of listens of some, bigger, more visible releases that we haven't had time to review individually. So yeah, if folks enjoy it, let us know. If you really don't like this particular delivery and would rather have albums reviewed individually, let us know that as well. We appreciate the feedback and appreciate folks hopping in the live chat. There's been a lot of good conversation, different opinions on the album. Some folks like some of these and some don't. But as always, the live chat's been, very respectful, very knowledgeable. Folks can agree and disagree, and that's absolutely great.
Yep.
All right, let's get Logan across town. Got to get him to stage 13 for his next big cameo shot.
Got to catch the bus, change my band shirt, all kinds of stuff.
Right on. Everybody, thanks for joining us. We will see you Wednesday night, and cheers. Have a great remainder of your weekend.